Welcome to the Look Good, Move Well podcast.
All right, everyone, welcome back to the show. Satya and I are sitting here at Functional Bodybuilding headquarters, repping our brand new Functional Bodybuilding merchandise. We have sweatshirts, t-shirts, tank tops that just dropped. We'll have hats coming relatively soon. I think by the time you hear this, this apparel is going to be available and you'll be able to grab it. So check the show notes, look for the link. I am repping the Go Slow and Grow t-shirt. So it's got a very simple FBB logo on the left chest. And then on the back, it's got this cool new graphic, which if you're watching on YouTube, I'm going to turn around and show it. But the graphic is around the tagline, Go Slow and Grow, which is sort of, I think we'll actually end up talking about that at some point on the podcast soon. But the idea that, hey, you know what? The best way to get to your goal and the fastest way to your goal is actually the slow route, because the slow route is the consistent route. And if you look at, redwood trees, they don't grow fast. You don't even notice that they're growing. And within 10, 15, 20 years, they are majestic. So majestic. Go slow and grow. And then Satya's hoodie is just this kind of like burnout, black, cozy,
wash.
Right? Acid wash. It's pretty sweet. I was wearing mine yesterday.
Nice. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, what are we going to talk about today?
Well, I do have a quick banter topic I've been dying to ask you because today's our Black Friday episode.
Hell yeah.
And I wanted to ask what's on your Black Friday shopping list.
Oh, really? Yeah. Oh, man. The thing that I'm like most tempted by is Hexclad.
Oh, man.
Like cooking set.
I nerd out on this company so much because they're all over the D2C Twitter space.
Are they?
Yeah. Or X, as some may call it.
Yeah.
Yeah. But they've got some legit D2C stories. Yeah.
Are they, what's your take based upon what you've seen? Like, they're legit, they're solid, they have a good product, they're just
People love the product, they're crushing their marketing, and their biggest marketing play was getting Gordon Ramsay to sign on. Yeah,
he's like, you can't see a Hexclad ad or anything that doesn't mention Gordon Ramsay for sure.
And he's really excited about the brand, which is why he agreed to do it. So that was cool. Yeah. And I think I've just like recently a couple of my pans have just been Megs was like, this pan is done.
Yeah. No, that's right. You were there for that. Yeah. I'm just like, these pans got to go. But it's not like I was kind of in the camp of like, look, you buy a relatively inexpensive pan and you replace it every 6 to 12 months. And that's just kind of what you do, because in my experience of buying expensive pans, I've not found anything that really lasted significantly longer. And I was like, well, why would I pay $200 for a pan that I'm going to have to change out in a year when I can buy a $30 one on Amazon and it lasts about the same length of time, But I don't know. The Hexclad might get me.
I was thinking about a Hexclad.
They also hit me up at Costco. Like every time I'm walking down, the rare occasion that I go to Costco with the kids, walking by the Hexclad people, and they're always demoing that, come over here, watch me fry this egg.
Just slide right out.
And just look at that. I think it's like they blow air. They like blow on the pan and just the air is like enough to go underneath the egg and like kind of lift it off. Man. It's like you don't even need a spatula. I'm like, oh damn, you could just use your mouth to flip that thing. Damn. What's on your it's not your Hexclad list? What's your Hexclad list? I mean, Black Friday list.
I've got the 9-inch. Yes, a lot of things. Last year I bought nothing for Black Friday. There was just nothing I wanted, and this year's the total opposite. Probably because I've been really nerding out on ads, and so I've really been paying attention to ads, and so I've been wanting a lot more things. So I've just been marking it all on a list. But I'll do some shopping for the kids and maybe get some cute new earrings and some new sheets and I don't know.
Oh, sweet.
This and that.
Great.
Some pants.
Some what?
Some pants.
Oh, pants.
Trying to keep my wardrobe game going.
Yeah. Well, so the question for you all listening is, what are you grabbing today? Send us a DM. I want to know.
Yeah.
What did you get?
Let us know if you like that Hexclad.
Yeah. Make sure you go and stock up on your functional bodybuilding Black Friday offers. We've got
Of
lots
course.
over there. So be on our website. And if the merch isn't available yet, it will be there relatively soon. So just sit tight.
Yeah.
All
It's
right.
coming.
So banter done. Check.
Okay.
Topic time.
Okay. So you just got back from the great state of Texas.
Yes.
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 And what were you doing there?
By the way, every state is great.
I agree.
Yeah. I mean, Texas is big and bold, and they have, some very unique qualities, and you're in Texas when you arrive. That's for sure.
Yeah.
I think not this time, but the time before I landed in Texas at the airport. I think there was like a PA announcement. It was like in the baggage claim, it's like, please come over here to get your guns. I was like, if you checked your guns, they're over here. And I was like, that would not happen in San Francisco. Like that wouldn't be on the PA.
Did you know I lived in Dallas as
No.
a kid? Yeah, I lived in Dallas for 3-4 years.
Oh man, that's
Yeah.
wild.
Yeah.
I mean, you lived a lot of places.
I lived a lot of
so
places, yeah.
I'm never that surprised when you say that, but yeah. Do you remember that?
Of course, yeah.
Oh, you do. What age was that?
Kindergarten-ish, like kindergarten, first grade, I think, and maybe like a year or two before that. Yeah, preschool into like first grade. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Interesting.
But I remember that it was like the sky was in fact very big, especially when you're a little tiny girl.
Oh yeah.
And my dad wore cowboy boots to work. That was the thing.
Well, that's wild.
Yeah.
Probably the most. So yeah, I just got back from Texas. One of the most interesting things that happened was when we arrived, we took the Uber to, from the airport to the hotel, and our Uber driver he was just a fascinating human. Like I don't think he stopped talking from the moment he picked us up to the moment he dropped us off, but not in an annoying way, and then wow, your story is incredible. And he was just I don't know, I just was blown away. And he was 26 years old. And I was like, man, you were like so captivating with like what you're sharing with me and like your whole story and who you are. And but he was so sweet and so nice. It was like a nice welcome into the city. And I was there to attend a seminar called Unleash the Power Within, which is, for people who don't recognize that name, that is, I think, Tony Robbins' kind of original work that he put together. I don't know when he named it that, but he's Tony Robbins is a kind of a self-help, motivational speaker, somebody who is, borderline therapist and celebrity, but has been in the game for like 40 something years. Like he's in his 60s now, but he started doing this at like age 20.
Yeah.
And it's really fascinating to hear his because so much of what he does today is consistent with what he's been teaching for 40 years, but it's like hearing the evolution of it and how it got its origins, how he found his way to this calling that he always felt like he had, but he kind of was getting rocked in, all these different directions in life. It was pretty special to just feel like, okay, I get to be here with this figure who's like, just has made such an impact. I mean, he's been an advisor to, I think, every one of the, U.S. presidents since he was doing this work, maybe with the exception of, actually, I don't know. Maybe he worked with Trump at some point, but, he's been like Bill Clinton and, Obama. Like, these are people that he was like very connected to and close with. He's advised countless celebrities and professional athletes, like worked on mindset, worked on, helping them overcome obstacles in their life. And I think that's kind of his big, I don't know if he had like an elevator pitch, but, I think it would, if I were him, it would be like, yeah, like I help people overcome the fears that keep them from living their fullest life.
Yeah.
And, yeah, it was profound. And there were some really good frameworks that I came home with that I thought would be worthwhile to, talk about here and at least introduce people. And this is not me. I'll start by saying, like, I'm not necessarily encouraging everyone to go out to a Tony Robbins seminar. Like, it could be right for you. It might not be right for you, but I learned some really, valuable tools, or at least heard things in a way that I saw resonate with a lot of people, resonated with me, and think they're useful to share.
I think they're useful to share as well, especially because a huge aspect of working on your health and fitness is overcoming your limiting beliefs. And sometimes that happens in your physical body in the gym when you start to be able to do things that you never thought your body could do. And you have to sort of encounter your own resistance to that sometimes. And sometimes it involves more subtle aspects of how you go about your day and how you live your life that change over time and might really challenge you mentally and emotionally.
For sure. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, any one of these can apply directly to health and fitness, and some of them can apply immediately to, your workouts in the gym.
Yeah.
And just making them better.
Yeah.
And it's funny, a story, one really, I'll just like a quick story about Tony Robbins is that I think when I was maybe 19 years old, so almost 20 years ago, I was with my mom and my brother. I come to find out. I kind of blacked out that like my brother was even there, but we all were talking about it recently. He's like, oh yeah, I was there. I was like, okay. I forgot that. I knew my mom took us to San Francisco to, there was a big convention at the Moscone Center. Mm-hmm. And I don't recall what it was, like the big convention, but Tony Robbins was like a guest speaker, and he spoke. Maybe he gave like a 3-hour talk or 2-hour talk. I'm not sure, but it wasn't like his full seminar.
Yeah.
But I remember being in the back and having this guy up there going nuts. Like, he is so high energy. He is like, this is 20 years ago too, so he was a little bit younger, and he's slapping his chest and he's pumping up the crowd, and we're all jumping, and he's teaching us about, I don't know, basically like get in the mode, get in the zone, like you could, like snap into it. You can, get ready, get going, like beat your chest, like you got to be here. And he's doing this, and it's like we're all getting fired up, and we're all like in a moment, in an instant, just sort of like present and really engaged. And for years since then, my mom, because she's been there side by side with me through so many, scary things that have happened in my career, where I'm like, I'm in a new environment. I got to go give a big talk. I got to go and, put myself in some place that is uncomfortable. And she's like, just remember, just puff up your chest, beat your chest, and she's always referring to the Tony Robbins thing. And I've always known it, but it's like, we're not like talking about it like it's Tony Robbins. Yeah. And fuck, we took that to level 10 for sure while we were in Dallas. Like, he is, and this is kind of the first, there's 3 things we'll talk about today, but number 1 is the lesson that he teaches, which is, we have states that we can be in, and he kind of lumps them all together as like, you can be in a beautiful state, or you can be in like a depressed state. And, when you're in fear, or when you're worried and you're anxious, these drop you into like depressed states. Whereas when you're like, excited, you're having fun, you're feeling joy, you're in a beautiful state. And the lesson that he taught us through action, which is what he was teaching us 20 years ago on stage when he was beating his chest and he was jumping up and down, he was screaming and doing the thing, is that, the state that you're in is, it involves not just conscious thought, but it involves like your physical body. It's a connection between nervous system, wiring, and, subconscious, conscious thoughts, fear centers in your brain, all of it combines to have you arrive in a moment and like, what's your state right now? And we practice a lot of like, you have the ability to change your state in a snap of a finger, right? Like that was his lessons. Like, and it would repeat it so much throughout the weekend. It's like, all right, how fast can you change your state? Everyone just like snaps. It's like, okay, let's get into a state. And he didn't have to use that language, because he taught us this concept of like, pick a position in your body that feels powerful. what's a powerful position? You know, is it like raising your arms up like you just had victory? Is it slapping your chest? Is it, you know, pumping your fists like you just, you know, whatever, like fist pump, Tiger Woods fist pump? Like, what's the... I don't know why this makes me emotional, but it's it was so tangible in that moment to just feel like, damn, we're so capable of owning how we show up in any moment of life. And that it's so easy to let the depressed states sort of beget more depressed states and drive us further down and down and down.
Yeah.
And oftentimes, and I know this happens for me, and I know it happens for a lot of people, but it's, you know, thinking, okay, I'm going to think my way out of this. I get in a depressed state or, you know, a down state, and if I just keep thinking, I'm going to think my way out. And it was like, okay, let me offer you a different tool. Let me offer you a physical connection to the now. And for me, it was like, and for him, his is like slap his chest, pump his fists. And he's like, he's doing this for like 3 days in a row. Just, I mean, the guy is nonstop, 11 hours on stage with an energy that, like, you know, for you CrossFitters out there, like, is like Josh Bridges when he just won the event and beat Rich Froning by 2 seconds, and he's doing his crazy pump up. Like, that's Tony Robbins for like 10 hours, you know? And so he kind of, we started to use this language, which was like, what's your move? And then it's, okay, make your move. Make your move, everyone. Make your move. And we would be in we could be talking about, he could be on a rant, telling a story about, you know, anything that was part of the lesson. And he could sense that the room was like getting a little down, or like kind of the energy was kind of calming. And it would just be out of nowhere. Make your move. Make your move. And it's like, you know, everyone just jumps into it, and it's like, okay, make your move again. Now scream, like, everyone jump up, you know, and then turn to your partner. Look at your partner, point to them, and playfully say, I own you. No, I own you. Now I want you to outdo their energy for the next 10 seconds. Give me every bounce of energy that you got. And we're just screaming and yelling and pumping up our chests and just being silly and just everything we can to just like connect in a moment to now. And it was so powerful. And I just watched it, like, you know, even just now, like, I maybe came into this like podcast being like, oh, I'm worried about such and such. And it's like, no, man, like, that doesn't have to run your life, and that doesn't have to guide you to the next 10 steps of your day. And you don't have to just wait for the, you know, clouds to part and for you to feel a beautiful state again. Like, you have the power to control that. And it's not to say that you're not going to feel fear, and you're not going to feel down, and you're not going to have depressed thoughts that come in, or things that make you feel like, oh, I suck, or I'm not good enough, or I missed that weight, you know, in the gym. But that you don't have to stay there.
Yeah.
It's a choice.
Yeah.
And yeah, it felt like it was what day one was about, because we had to set the tone for the next 4 days.
Yeah.
And that was like, yeah, there's a lot of lessons that we learned. And, but that was probably the most powerful one. And I was working out with, you know, Coach Andrew on Tuesday, and, you know, we're doing our lift, and I'm telling him a little bit about, you know, Tony Robbins, and, you know, like the way the workout was structured. Like, we had a lot of work, and then like the second to last exercise of the day was leg press. And I was just like, oh shit, like this is, you know, how are we going to get into mode? And we were both doing it. We were slapping our chest, getting focused, getting fired up. And then, you know, that's when I
came in on Tuesday.
I think that's when you arrived. There was a lot of yelling. Yeah. But, anyhow, so, how does that apply to, the gym? Maybe that's one tip. That's one way to do it. But, I think on the journey towards health and fitness, everybody without exception has, mental obstacles and fears that come up. Like, I'm not going to make it. I can't do this. This is too hard. And those depressed states, can lead to actions that maybe you're not so proud of, or that don't support what your mission is.
Mm-hmm.
And, it's like, oh man, I'm feeling down. I really feel like I want to go have some, cookies, or I'm going to go, and I'm just like, I just don't feel good. And I want to like numb that feeling. Yes. Or I want to, and he had a great example. He's like, you're in that down state, and what do? You like go reach for a cigarette, you go have a drink, you go eat some food, because it's just, when you do that, like, it just brings, blood flow back to your gut, and you start to breathe again. So people are getting in these down states, and then they're going to find something that's just going to help bring breath back to their life. And those tools, or those, a crutch, or that thing that they reach for, is really just to like get them back into what feels like a beautiful state for a moment. It's like, but you can access that, with a beat of your chest, or make your power move, whatever that is. So the first thing we did when we got home was we taught our daughters to make a move. Mm-hmm. And it was super cute. We were teaching Joey, because she was the first one to wake up the morning we were back, and like, Joey, make your move. And, she's doing like, like flexing, and she's like posing, and she's like throwing her hands behind her head. And so now we, rather than like, as parents, like they'll be watching a cartoon and they're distracted and we're trying to get their attention, I'll just yell out like, make your move. They get into it and they focus for a second. It's really cute. So
nice.
Yeah, that was lesson day one, big lesson number one.
Yeah. Well, I think it's really amazing to provide tools for when things aren't going well, because I think that there is a lot of pressure I certainly feel in the fitness space to just always be grinding and always be working and always be struggling. But what do you do when that feeling becomes too much to absorb in that moment?
Yeah. Well, I think day two, or I think it was really day two, a little bit of day three, but there was a session where we talked about like the core human needs, like fundamental human needs. And it was interesting, because I'm sure there's, plenty of psychology, textbooks and teachers that have, articulated this in other ways, and people have heard this, but I don't think I'd ever had language put to it. What are the 6 needs that we have as humans? And really, I think another big takeaway from this was we all prioritize certain needs more than others. Our lives and what we've been taught throughout, our upbringing and our society and community, we lean into certain ones more than others, or our fears make us lean into some human needs more than others. And so the human needs that were outlined were, number one, a need for certainty, and then also a need for uncertainty and variety. So they kind of match. Then there was a need for significance, to feel significance, and then a need to feel love and connection with people. So significance is more about yourself, and am I valuable to the people around me? Am I valuable to society? Am I valuable to my family? Am I number one, or am I number two? And then the last 2 were about personal growth. People need to feel like they're growing in life, and but then on the matching part of that was, you need to feel like you're contributing. So it's like, oh, I'm growing, I'm getting wealthier, I'm accumulating all this wealth, I'm growing, but I'm not giving at all. I'm not contributing. And, what's the balance for you? And each person has a need for a bit of both. And it was great, because it was like, we walked these examples that were very like extreme. It was like, okay, let's talk about the certainty and uncertainty. All right. Picture for a moment you go into a casino and you pull the the slot machine, and boom, you hit a jackpot. How exciting is that? Like, give me the sound of what that feels like. It's like fun, so excited. Okay, now you go and you pull it again. You hit 2 jackpots in a row. Can you, what's that sound like? Still energy's high. People are excited. It's like, okay, now it's the 10th time you just pulled it and you got another jackpot, 10 in a row. How you feeling now? Okay, it's the 1,000th time you just pulled and you got 1,000 jackpots in a row. Okay, now it's 3 months later and it's the 10,000th jackpot in a row. How are you feeling? People are like, it's, oh, now I have a job. It's not, you didn't just win the uncertain game. Like, you have absolute certainty that you're winning every time, and this is just life, and this is just what you're doing. And so I'm sure somebody's listening like, I'll fucking get 10,000 jackpots. I'm cool with that. But there is a point. It's like, okay, well then in 5 years from now, every day you just go to the slot machine and you just pull the crank every day. And you just, that's all your life is, And so we kind of played that exercise in each example. Yeah. And then the question was, which 2 do you lean into the most? Yeah. Like, what's your thing? And I was like, wow, I think significance is important to me. And I think certainty is really important to me. Those were very high on my list of human needs that I seek out. And in evaluating what I've programmed myself to want or to chase or to feel like I need, what have I neglected, and what's really going to, what do I really need to lean into to express the highest amount of joy and fulfillment in my life? And it was like, well, in my youth, being good at things, being really excelling at certain academic things and athletic things, that became a label that I had, and it was a way that I got praise and attention and love. And so significance became a very important human need for me. It was like, if I'm significant, then I will be loved enough, and then I will feel like I am enough as a human. Yeah. And it's like, well, and then I found myself in, throughout my life and in my career where significance started to become a central theme. It's like, oh, well, what's on the other side of significance? Well, it's the love and connection part, and significance, when it becomes so heavily a focus in my life, becomes quite lonely, versus leaning more into love and connection with those around me. So that was a very profound, lesson to take in. Yeah. And then also this certainty as well. It's like, oh, we cannot have a life that is fully certain. I thought that was it was like, if you knew exactly what was going to happen, would life be fun? Would life be worth it? It's like, fuck, no, it wouldn't. Yeah. Yet uncertainty scares me so much. And particularly in certain areas of my life, it's like, well, why is that? And so that was just a really interesting framework to kind of juggle and grapple with for a few hours when we were there.
I think the word uncertainty is so interesting here, because I was thinking about 2 things simultaneously, and I guess I'm thinking about them together. But one is how functional bodybuilding itself has this blend of certainty and uncertainty. Yeah. Because we know that we need the fundamentals to actually make an impact on your body and cause change. And we go to the tried and true every single time. And we also know that there's a certain amount of variety and mystery that makes fitness fun and exciting and makes you want to come back to it. And I was thinking that that's the same thing in love relationships, where you can't be too certain or you start to fall out of love, and you need that little bit of mystery that like, what's the other person going to do next? And also how like training is something that I feel like I fall in love with. And I have like a love relationship with training.
Yeah.
So, I think that those two things together are represented in certain ways, but not to the degree where like you're going to come in and like one day everything is going to be completely different and your rug gets pulled out from under you.
Yeah. Yeah. I thought a lot about our company as it related to this particular topic too. And there were a lot of entrepreneurs in the room. It was really interesting. It was like, how many of you own your own business? And like 80%, 90% of people. And then the other 10 to 20%, like how many of you manage people in a company or, have to oversee people? So like kind of entrepreneurs in a way, like to kind of manage. It was everybody else, this is who was there. And so, yeah, they talked a lot about like, because Tony Robbins has a wealth mastery course too, where he talks, wealth and business. But it's like products that you are raving fans of, that you just love, that you'll never walk away from. They satisfy 3 of those 6 core human needs. And if you're an entrepreneur and you want to create something, it's like create certainty for people, but also allow them a chance, make sure that they're growing with that product. And if they feel love and connection to people through the use of your product, great. Like, okay, that's CrossFit plus a little bit of uncertainty, plus a feeling of significance. Oh shit, look at my whiteboard times are getting better. Plus maybe at the end, a contribution. Hey, I got to bring my friends into this thing. I got to, include people in the community. I got to refer a friend. I got to, right? CrossFit just had like this, all 6 that were getting met for quite some time. And it was as powerful as it was because of that. Yeah. Yeah. So I'll be on this last one. I'll just sort of try and keep it more concise because we're kind of at the 30-minute mark in our podcasting today. But the last one, and there were more frameworks that we learned and lessons that we learned. And a lot of the experience was, a lot of the seminar was experiential. It was just like going and putting this stuff into action. Like we walked on hot, like burning fire coals, like on the first night. Yeah. And that was all about like overcoming or getting into state. It was like you could accomplish so much when you're in the right state, when you're in a beautiful state, when you're in the state that the situation calls for. It's like your feet will burn if you're not in the right state. If you walk up to the fire and your head's down and your shoulders are slumped and you're scared and you're just thinking about how it's going to hurt, we're going to pull you off because we're going to see it and we're going to know. It's when the kicker goes out to kick the field goal and you're like, before they even kick it, they're going to miss because they're just walking with their shoulders down. So there was an experiential aspect of a lot of the seminar, which was very cool. Yeah. On a side note, I saw an interesting reel yesterday, and it was about state. It was about body language. It was a state post, and it was Rafael Nadal with this other, I don't even know who he was, another tennis player. It was in the little tunnel before they came out, and it was showing them side by side, and it was like, who do you think's going to win? And it was one guy who was just kind of like, sort of just sitting there, standing. He was like kind of asking questions like, how much time? Rafael Nadal comes out, puts his bag down, has his tennis racket in hand, and he is just rehearsing all of these, all of these moves. He's jogging in place. He's like laser focused. He's like swinging the racket. He's getting ready. And this other guy is just kind of like looking at him like, what the fuck is he doing? And it's like, okay, one of these people is ready for this and the other person is ready to get beat. Yeah. Yeah. So the last lesson was about limiting beliefs or limiting belief systems. And, asking, and here is the and we've talked about this before on this podcast. This is like, fixed belief systems. Like this belief that I have limits me from being who I want to be. And the limiting belief system was, a limiting BS. It was just like, it's BS. Like, you've just told yourself this thing for so long and it holds you back. And it was really a great exercise, because it was like, okay, what's a limiting belief that you have? And, you take time to think about it. And then let's take it a step further, okay? Rather than let's just try and change the limiting belief, let's go with that belief, okay? What are you giving up by thinking that today? What are you giving up by thinking that in a year? Okay, let's take it to the end. What is the consequence to your life if you hold on to this belief for the rest of your life? What will you never accomplish? Who will you hurt along the way? Whose love and connection will you lose? What is your body going to look like? How's your health going to be? Are you going to be able to enjoy your 60s and 70s and 80s? Or is this limiting belief that you have today that you can't be, that you don't have enough time, that you don't have enough money, that you're too young, that you're not smart enough? Like, whatever the thing is that you say to yourself when you say, I can't do the thing because I didn't get the right education. I didn't go to the right school. I don't have enough time. I don't have the money to do that thing. Okay. If you keep believing that, what are you going to give up in 10, 20, 30, 40 years? And then we really took that and stretched it out, and it was like, shit, if I keep doing this, if I keep believing this, my kids, when they're in their 20s and 30s, and I'm 50, 60, 70, they're not going to come home. They're not going to come and want to spend the holiday with me, because they're not going to feel a sense of deep connection to me that's going to draw them back to the house. They're going to be like, oh yeah, that guy he wasn't there for me, or he wasn't present, or he wasn't engaged. He was too focused on this other thing that was a limiting belief for him. They're not going to phrase it that way, but like, maybe that's like, holy shit. Like, if I really keep this up, what is the consequences is bigger than I can handle.
Yeah.
And I think that's where people maybe could learn something, is that limiting beliefs, sure, yeah, they might be impacting your ability to lose 5 pounds right now. But if you stretch out the time horizon on that, stay in this limiting belief for another 10, 20, 30 years, what happens? How do you feel? Who have you lost? What have you lost in your own health? And that really felt like an unlock in a way of looking at the the limiting BS that we all carry. Yeah. So that's what I've got to share about Dallas, Texas.
Yeah. What do you think the biggest impact is going to be just on your day-to-day life?
I think it's going to just take time for these things to sort of like, really settle into my nervous system.
Yeah.
It's like, I think maybe I went into the event, or maybe people go into some of these events thinking, oh, I'm going to go to this thing, I'm going to come away with all the answers, everything's going to be better.
No.
And it's like, no, you're going to go learn a ton of stuff, and it's going to probably highlight for you a lot of things that are not how you want them to be.
Yeah.
And the real work starts after it all.
Sure.
Yeah. And so, trying to even just having these conversations, and thanks for everyone for hanging with us on this, because it's been, therapeutic in a way to just even talk through it.
Yeah.
So I hope you guys got some value out of hearing these sort of 3 frameworks. And if you're interested, of course, in looking more into what Tony Robbins does, he's got podcasts, he's got a lot of free resources out there that you can just listen to, see if you resonate with any of it. I would encourage you to maybe go look up. I'm sure there's YouTube videos of him slapping his chest and getting into state. It's pretty powerful. It can pump you up. So you can go and do that. And anything else to add before we go?
No, thanks for sharing.
All right. Thank you guys.
Yeah, we'll see you next time.
Bye.